catches her aunt slipping through into another world. Hello, welcome to I Read This Book with Chris. This is Chris. This is the book A Wizard Abroad by Diane Duane. While discussing A Wizard Abroad, I have myself a paper plane. A Wizard Abroad. This is part of the Young Wizard series by Diane Duane. Let's see. This book came out in 1993. This is a later publication printing of this. You see at the back here, a lot of these later, when they're printing smaller amounts. There we go. You see that on a lot of books that are printed. You see it a couple different ways. More indie published stuff. A lot of that has that sort of stuff at the back, as well as older books where they're doing a new printing and they want it, they're doing a smaller run, and they decide to print it in the US and get a smaller run. So it's just like a little bit ugly. I kind of want a nicer version, but my whole series is a little wonky. So my second book sticks out. It's the trade paperback instead of the mass market. This is the fourth book. Anyway, this is the fourth book in the series. The first book, So You Want to Be a Wizard. So these are all following Nita and her friend Kit, who are living in New York State and realize they're wizards. Nita is able to have her wizardry works well with animals and trees and things that are alive. And so in this first book, they go and they fight the Dark One as he is trying to ruin the world, and they go to a different plane of existence and they fight him. The second book, Deep Wizardry, is also about fighting the Dark One. This time, apparently whales can also be wizards, and a bunch of whale wizards have to sing a song in order to keep things balanced properly. And if that doesn't, it has deep magic in it. And if it's not properly sung, things go haywire. And so Nita and Kit become whales in order to perform the song as wizards. High Wizardry. Nita's younger sister, Diane, becomes a wizard. And her wizardry is to do with computers. And so her and her laptop computer do wizardry, and they go to outer space. This is probably my favorite one in the series. But yeah, all sorts of fun thing happens. She creates planets and all that sort of stuff. A Wizard Abroad is probably the most boring one so far. There's 2 more books left in the series, and I guess I don't want to say it's the most boring one. There is no adventure in A Wizard Abroad. So Nita is sent to Ireland by her parents because her parents don't want her doing magic. And they're worried about her and Kit getting too close. They don't like how close they're getting. They must be like 13 or 14 or something like that. I forget the exact age. And so it's during the summer, and they decide to send Nita away to Ireland to be with her aunt, to get her out of this wizardry stuff. And she goes and she spends this, I think it's supposed to be 6 weeks in Ireland. And when she gets there, she realizes there's a lot of magic in Ireland. She slips sideways. So she's able to, in the first book, they have to set up the spell in order to slip, which is go into another multiverse, parallel universe type thing. Other worlds that are similar and yet different. A different timeline almost. They have to set up a spell to have that happen. When she gets to Ireland, she slips sideways accidentally out of her control. And so she realizes this place is a lot more magic than she thought. And she meets a cat who is a bard, which is a magic role where they go and they do poetry and have knowledge and stuff. And she realizes soon that because things are slipping sideways, things are a lot more dangerous in Ireland than she thought. She goes and she tries to find local wizards in order to help her. So she runs into a young boy there who she kind of starts to like and gets a little bit of a crush on, and she doesn't know how to deal with this. And she meets the local senior who lives in a castle, and she also catches her aunt slipping through into another world, and she follows her and she calls her aunt out, and that's how they both realize that they're both wizards. And so her and her aunt and the local senior and Kit, because Kit realizes what's going on, and so he just teleports himself from America over to Ireland to be part of this. Realize what's going on, and a bunch of old Irish stories, using a bunch of old Irish names that's hard to keep track of, happens. And basically they need to find 4 magical artifacts that contain earth, fire, air, and water. So they find a few of these artifacts. Some of them have their spirit in them. Some of them they have to reawaken the spirits inside of. And the one that's fire is supposed to be a spear, but the spear is gone. So they borrow Diane, Nita's sister. She comes and does a magical spell, because the younger you are, the more powerful you are, where she creates a wormhole from the beginning of the universe inside of a star to get some star metal and bring it into our world, which they then use to, they have a god power, one of the old powers, an old angel that's been in human body for years. They have her forge this into a spear. And then they go and they hop to another world. Everyone goes sideways together, and there's this big battle that happens. And that's about it. There's not a whole lot of adventure, not a whole lot of exciting stuff. It's mainly, let's see. So, Nita and Kit are talking. It's not like the last time, Kit said, or the time before. How do you mean, not like the last time, Nita asked, getting back on the bed and leaning back against the big headboard. We've always been doing our stuff pretty much by ourselves, he said. This is different. We don't have a lot to say about what's going on. Kit looked over at her. I don't know if I like it. Nita knew what he meant. Maybe this is more what it's like for grown-ups, she said. I guess it's what it's like when we're older. So they don't really, Nita and Kit don't really have a whole lot to do with what's going on in this story. It's not really their story, they're just sort of there. I mean, they're helpful, but they're more like cogs in the story. Where the previous ones, the first 2, they were very involved. The third one, they were just trying to help their sister, and we were following Diane throughout the whole story as she was figuring out what was going on. So not nearly as fun and exciting and all that good stuff. I don't know. It's kind of a letdown. So this is a book for kids. You have to recognize that. And this was also written before Harry Potter, so I should not be comparing it to that. But I always do, and it feels as if there's a lack of depth, which Harry Potter has. The world isn't quite as deep. The story isn't quite as deep. And in here, there's no adventure. It's a story about growing up, realizing that it's not all about you. You don't have control, but you can play a part. And you can recognize what's going on and call out the problem and not be the solution. Just be someone working in a community to deal with a problem. So with problems that started out before you. Anyway, thanks for watching.